Hi, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today.
Oh,
Jonathan, do you want fabulous? Do you want to introduce yourself?
yeah, sure. I'm Jonathan Moffat. I'm the Information Management Lead at ALGM. That's the Association of Local Government Information Management here in New Zealand.
Fabulous. And tell me a bit about you as the person.
Yep. Me as the person. So I'm a Geordie. I'm originally from Newcastle. Moved out to New Zealand in 2002 with my now wife. Started work in local government information management in 2004, and so that's been my career since then. I kind of fell into it like most people do. And we live in Nelson, which is at the top of the South Island of New Zealand, and it's a gloriously sunny spot most of the time. I've got family. We're well established. I've got three daughters. I've got one at university, one who'll be going next year, and my youngest is 15. So, yeah. Living the dream, as they
Amazing.
say. Living the dream.
Living the dream. And I can imagine because New Zealand is so beautiful. Do you have any other outside hobbies?
Yeah, I do. So well, yeah, we try to get out and about a bit as much as we can for a bit of sort of walking and tramping, which is what they call hiking over here. Just
Nice.
it's not to
Thank
do with
you.
homeless people. And one thing that I get out and do a little bit of hunting actually, which I never did in the UK at all. Never been interested in that kind of thing, but some friends at the council that I used to work for dragged me out hunting Canada goose. They're a pest bird here. They've migrated over from the Great North, and they're a pest species. So there's an area sort of at the top of the South Island known as the Molesworth. It's a huge cattle station, and so about 3 times a year we get the opportunity to go up there and try and lower their numbers and thin them out a bit.
Yeah.
But through a little bit of my being an introvert and also just for availability, I tend to go in the winter months when it's sort of nobody else wants to go in the winter, so we go and sit in the snow and camp in a tent in sort of -6, -7 kind of temperatures. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's
it's fun. Sort of
that's
3,
commitment.
4 days. Yeah, it's fun. Get out and about. And it's stunning landscape, and the scale of it is just immense that it blows your mind, and you think, oh, let's pop over there, let's go and walk up that hill. It'll take about an hour, and 4 hours later you're only halfway there. It really is
Wow.
incredible place. Yeah,
Oh well, you have to share some photos with me when you're next there.
yeah, we'll do.
I have to ask, why are they a pest?
They're big, bolshy, virtually indestructible birds, and there are no real predators for them here, so they can dominate the native birds, the native ducks and wildlife, and they just shove everybody else out of the way and eat all the food. So yeah, they're a pest, and there's not
Okay,
much that can take
understand.
them down. They're big, heavy birds, and they're pretty aggressive as well.
Wow. And do you eat them afterwards?
Yeah,
Do
we
they go
tend to.
into?
Yeah, we tend to. We'll try and bring back what we can, and usually get most of it made into sausages, which are very, very nice.
Oh, beautiful. So I
Yeah,
digressed on our information management topic, but it's always nice
yeah,
to learn something
that's all good.
new. So thank you. So can you tell me a bit more about Algam and its mission?
Yeah, so Algam is about 40 years old, although it was not originally called Algam, but it's existed in some form for about 40 years, originally supporting IT for local government in New Zealand, and then it became its own sort of entity and expanded into information records management, customer experience, GIS, data management, smart communities we also support as well, and the web and digital sort of front end of council. So we our aim is to really support those sort of backroom jobs at council that don't get the TLC or the recognition or even the value that they give is often unrecognised. We are there to support them. We have an official mission and vision statements, which our vision is a digitally transformed local government sector, and our mission is bringing people and technology together to deliver better local government services. And we are a not-for-profit, so there's 8 of us in the team supporting the entire country, 78 local authorities in New Zealand, and all of them are members of ALGM, and we're very proud of that. And yeah, so that's kind of what we do. We provide support, see resources, help where we can. We do a bit of consultancy work for councils as well. And last year, we established ALGM Australia to provide the same sort of support to councils on the other side of the ditch.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So I'm really intrigued by your organisation because you have a blend of IT and information management together. Now, from my experience across the world, there is sometimes a disconnect between the two. So IT is very much around the software and we're very much around sort of the information within the software. How do you manage that, and do you see that same?
Oh yeah, that's very true here. Most organisations, not just councils, but there's a real disconnect between the records management and the IT side of things, and that is one of the gaps that we are trying to bridge and bring together. Because increasingly in the sort of digital space, those things are just so tightly linked. You can't pull them apart.
Yeah.
And information management is no longer filing. It's no longer, getting bits of paper out and putting bits of paper in and signing out transit cards and things like that. It's information architecture, it's understanding metadata, it's understanding taxonomies and ontologies, and nobody recognizes that. So that's one of the roles that we play, is trying to just bring that view to the surface, that in my world, IT is the tool and that people use to access information, and IM is the management of the content, and you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just thought it was interesting that you've got a conference coming up in November, and you kind of bring those professionals together.
Yeah, we do.
And I just think it's really unique, and I'm pleased that organisations are now doing that to help IM professionals, but also the technology as well. So what services does ALGM offer in the information management space?
So the biggest offering we have in this space is we have what is called the ALGM IM Toolkit, and that is a set of resources aimed at helping local government information management professionals establish an information management program. So we've got a whole bunch of resources that cover information governance, so that's things like how to develop an IM strategy for your organization, how to lists of all the relevant legislation that has impact on record keeping. The main ones obviously are sort of the Public Records Act, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, and the Privacy Act, and they sort of are that cornerstone of managing information. But certain bits of legislation have their own, bespoke impact on information management. We also have lots of fact sheets. We have got a module around how to build your IM team, and that ties into the Sphere skills framework. And we've got a template taxonomy, a template disposal schedule that councils can pick up and use. They adapt it for their own specific organisation. The legwork's been done. We've got template policies, procedures, things like that, so people can pick it up and run with a program. So that's our biggest sort of help. And when I was in local government, that was invaluable to me. So I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to take that on its journey to the next level. We provide training in information management, and we have an awesome trainer who's very well known in New Zealand, Kerry Siatiris. She's a fantastic. She just knows everything about everything to do with IM, and our training for local government has proved so popular that we have people from sort of central government and other associated agencies are coming to us to get their IM training, because there's some gaps there. We've also recently started providing Microsoft 365 training with a certain organisation that you might know called Leadership Through Data. And we're really pleased to have that partnership up and running, because again, just a huge gap for people, and everybody's working in Microsoft and SharePoint at some level, whether it's their actual content management or they're using Teams or whatever. We do a lot of advisory and consultancy work. We hold webinars, and as you mentioned before, we have an annual conference which has a dedicated information management stream where we'll try and bring in workshops. And our most popular slot at the conference is a thing that's we call the IM roundtables, which is basically a chance for we'll pick, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hot topic issues, and people will circulate around the tables, and it's a really good opportunity for the the delegates from the councils just to talk amongst themselves about what they're up to, what challenges they've got, how they're dealing with them, sharing knowledge, and just building that connection across the organizations, which is a fantastic benefit for that kind of thing. A lot of councils in New Zealand are quite small and really lacking in resources, and they may have IM teams of like 1 or 2 people, and it's very easy to feel isolated and that you're on your own and you're doing this and there's no support around you. Having that ability to talk to other people and share the stories and make the connections and make the contacts and realize that you're not actually alone and everyone's fighting the same fight is, yeah, it's really uplifting, and it's great to be part of that.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and that is invaluable. And those sharing best practices, discussions, because that you can offer training from principles or best practices, but actually having that discussion with somebody that's in the same situation or has been there, that you need to progress, and you can have those shared experiences from their mistakes or from their challenges, and the things that they've done that worked well.
Yeah,
and I'm a huge advocate of that. So I think that's awesome.
And sometimes it's someone who you can sort of offload to a bit and share a bit of frustration, and that they're going to understand what you're talking about, rather than offloading at your family or your friends outside of council who might not really care about records.
Agreed. So let's flip that from IM now into your technology area. So what do you do to support local government in delivering services better through technology?
Yeah, so we are sort of technology agnostic. So we promote best practice, we promote standardization of processes and things like that. But we have got a number of organizations in New Zealand and Australia who partner with us to provide services to local government. And one of the roles that we can assist in is sort of group buying. License costs can be reduced if a group of councils are prepared to sign up to a particular vendor for a particular product. So we can facilitate that kind of access. Again, with resources and money effectively being as tight as it is, there's real benefits to be made there. And again, just that sharing of understanding of what's out there. We can do some of the research for people. We've produced white papers and bless you. We've developed white papers and things like that. So we can provide that support and guidance and advisory services as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. So what are some of the key issues that you're currently facing in information management in New Zealand?
Well, some of these are probably the same across the board. Budgets and resourcing is a continual fight, particularly with the economic climate at the minute. People are having to cut costs where they can, and there are a number of organizations and in councils particularly who have got a very high staff turnover, so maintaining the integrity of the information management platform and program that's in place can be damaged just by the brain drain of people leaving the business and new people coming in without perhaps understanding the context of what's happened before. That's a big issue. You mentioned about the separation between IT and IM. I think a bigger scale problem to address is the lack of integration of IM into the business as a whole. IM is seen as its own function, and the records people are their own thing. They do the filing and the information management, but really that needs to be across the business and not just a little pocket of it. I think that's a big issue. Again, I'd say that there's an issue around the idea of IM as a career. It seems to be that most people kind of fall into it or slide into it, or it's not something that people necessarily see as a career opportunity until they're in it and they understand the value of information management. Kids don't leave school thinking, I want to work in IM, I want to be a records manager. It's something that you fall into and then you realize how big it is and how important it is, particularly in local and central government, where it has a real impact on people's access to democracy, people's freedom of information, privacy, things like that. So I'd really like to see that visibility of, people might go into IT or they might go into engineering. Why shouldn't they want to go into IM? There's a lot of stuff happening there. And the other thing that's going to have a big impact, and it's starting to already, is the growth of AI, use of AI. Before it gets too far, before the horse is bolted, and it probably already has to a point, I can see that there could be messaging coming around about replacing IM people with AI tools, because AI can interrogate vast volumes of data much quicker than a human ever can, but they don't understand the context and some of the rationale behind decision making on some things. And I think that's a dangerous place, that the idea of people using AI to generate content without checking it leads to poor decision making, and it has longer term implications. And of course the ability for AI to grow with bias, misinformation, disinformation, and all of that kind of stuff, I think there's a lot of potential problems there. I can be a great tool when used for good, but it can also be used for bad, or used out of ignorance and cause a lot of damage.
Yeah, agreed. And I think there's that big piece, that everything you've just said, there's that big piece about the person behind the role, and that's kind of one of the key things that I'm very passionate about, is actually we need to, as information leaders or managers, to actually really stand tall, stand proud, and say these are the things that you need to consider. Because I agree with you what you were saying about AI, but the people benefit that comes with that it's not there if you just remove IM professions.
And what we see here, I don't know if you've seen this in other places, is a lot of the people who work in information and records management have been old school records people who are maybe not as comfortable in that digital world and not as up to date in things like AI. It's not a comfort zone spot for them. So to advocate IM when you're maybe not fully understanding the implications of some of the new technology, I think gets very hard. And again, that comes back to that sort of career progression, succession planning as well. Who's coming in to fill in the gaps. IM folk tend to be poorly paid, poorly recognized, poorly valued, and you may have a real interest in it, but if you get an opportunity that's going to pay you better bucks somewhere else, you're probably going to take it. And who wouldn't?
And we do. And it's the love of what we do. And I definitely think that is something that our profession, they stay in it because they love what they do.
And that can be taken for granted.
And it can. And there are definitely some areas around the person to help build confidence, self-belief, drive, and get them into a growth mindset so they can learn more about technologies and AIs, so they can really start to drive those through the business.
Yeah, and that's where our partnership with yourselves is one of those tools that people can access to raise that awareness, to raise that skill level, and so that's what we're trying to do anyway.
Could you share some of your recent projects, what ALGM's been working on?
Yeah, sure. So we've got a range of things that we've been involved in. We're really keen to promote council projects, council innovation, and I know that that the conference that we hold every year, we have Project of the Year awards in the different disciplines that we have. So we really like to see that kind of thing come about. But we do have our own projects as well. So in the IM space specifically, I have a regular liaison with Archives New Zealand, who in New Zealand are the regulator of the Public Records Act. They have a mandate around central government, but they're a bit more hands-off on local government, so there's a bit of a disconnect there, so I'm trying to plug that gap. We're really trying to promote our support and networking channels using things like Yammer communities, although I think it's now Viva Engage, but using those kind of platforms to get people chatting online when they can't talk in person. And we, working with a sister organisation in the UK, Socatum, we developed an AI acceptable use policy, which has been adopted by a number of councils around the world now. So that was an awesome piece of work to be involved in.
Yeah, brilliant. I've got so many more questions for you. We're going to have to do a part 2.
Yeah, happy to.
Fabulous. Okay. What role does innovation play in ALGM's approach for information management?
It plays a big role because it has to. We're a small team. There's 8 of us supporting the entire country, and we all come from different backgrounds and have different sort of strengths in our different streams, and that includes our HQ team as well. So we have to innovate because there's not enough hours in the day to do everything we need to do, and as we are a registered charity, so we do not work for profit, so we cover our costs, so there's we're not floating in money. We're not Scrooge McDuck jumping into the pile of coins to pay for all of the stuff that we'd love to do. So we have to be innovative, and a lot of that innovation comes in the partnerships that we can make with people to help us provide better services, better solutions to our bread and butter, who are our councils. And they don't have a lot of money either. They don't have a lot of spare cash, because that's all coming from ratepayers. So anything that we can do smarter to help them work smarter is going to go down well.
Fabulous. So how can local governments get access to the benefits from ALGM?
Well, all of the local government, all councils in New Zealand are already members, so they're already accessing that. Yeah, we've already got them. But our ALGM Australia is growing, and people can hit us up online. We have a New Zealand and an Australian website, and they can find us there and have a look at what we do. And if they're keen to be part of it, we'd love to have them as part of the journey.
Amazing. So what are some of the future trends in information management that ALGM's preparing for?
Well, the big one is AI. It really is. It has to be. Other than that, we are starting to provide a lot more advice on 365 tools, particularly Teams, that sort of distinction between chats and channels, and where are those doc libraries when you set up a new team, all of those kind of questions. As I say, I think all councils are using 365 to some degree, and if it's not done in a managed way, if there's no sort of governance around how that's deployed, it goes feral, and then they're in a world of hurt, and you can't find what you need to. So that's a big area. Digital disposal, again, people have moved from paper records to digitized records to digital records, and outside of shredding your finance records at the end of 7 years, everything else is kind of kept. So disposal and actioning it is a big issue, particularly in the digital space, because the sheer volume of content to be got rid of is just mind-blowing. Digital archiving as well. We have a number of sets of records that their disposal action will be to archive. I think an awful lot of organizations just mean that that's just keeping it in your EDRMS where it was when it was a record. There's no distinction to turn it into an archive. So I think that's going to become digital archiving, digital preservation. Yeah, a lot of work going on in that space as well, or there will be.
Fabulous. And finally, you've made lots of reference to the courses that we run together. How can local governments access those?
Best place to access those is through the ALGM website. So that's algm.org.nz or algm.org.au, depending on which side of the Tasman Sea you're sitting on. But yeah, just follow your nose through the navigation to the training, and you will see all of our training options there. And we've got a fantastic trainer based in New Zealand who's delivering that for us. So,
the lovely Andrea McIntosh.
Yeah, lovely Andrea. And so there's no issues with times or people being particularly tired when they're delivering training.
Agreed. I like this podcast today. Jonathan, how can people access you if they want to know any more information?
If anyone wants to get hold of me, my email address is im@algm.org.nz, or I'm on LinkedIn.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been super great.
Yeah, it's been great. Good fun.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Journals of the Information Entrepreneur with me, Jacqueline Stockwell. I hope you found this episode inspiring and helpful, and have some takeaway tips that can be useful to you. If you liked this episode, please like, review and share it with your friends. Your support helps us reach more information leaders to stay inspired and listen to great content. Want to test out your strengths and weaknesses and measure it against our Empower framework? Please complete the scorecard. It's a great way to improve and evaluate your skills. You can find the scorecard at the end of the description of this podcast. Stay tuned for a new podcast every Thursday, and remember to be bold, be brave and be beautiful.